Hello there and welcome once again to The Verdict. I'm Mick Cornett along with Kent Myers. We're here every week, as you know, meeting interesting people and dealing with topical issues, and I think our viewers are in for a treat this week.
Indeed a treat. A new organization that not many of us have known much about, but I know we're going to learn a lot more during this show. The Institute for the Economic Empowerment of Women is the subject of our show today, and we've got Terry Neece, who is the boss person at that organization, together with a very important partner, Tony Shinn from Bank of America, are going to be here to talk to us about what the organization does, how it functions, and what are its needs.
We'll get to it today on The Verdict. We'll be right back.
I've always been a public servant. I've served either tribes, I've served the federal government, or I've served state governments. The law allows me to express my natural desire to advocate. My name is Stephanie Cochran. I am an attorney and I am Chickasaw. Lawyers give their clients, and in my case, tribal governments, a voice. And it's through legal decisions that tribes have been able to accomplish and to regain some much lost footing that they encountered in the late 1800s and the 1900s. When I reflect back on this time in history, I think I'll look at it in terms of opportunity. And I think now we have to turn those opportunities into long-term success for our future generations.
See more stories about the Chickasaw people at profilesofanation.com.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett and Kent Myers. Kent's going to introduce today's guests.
As I indicated in the opening segment, we are pleased today to have Dr. Terry Neece join us. Terry is the boss person of the Institute for the Economic Empowerment of Women. She got her honorary doctorate degree from Northland University. She's the founder of Terry Neece Personnel Services. She is the president, has been the president of the National Association of Business Women. She is in the National and the Oklahoma Women's Hall of Fame, and she is taking on the responsibility for forming the Institute and running it, and is working very hard to get it working in the way she'd like. We're going to hear a lot more from her. Terry, really glad to have you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate being here.
Thank you. To my left is Tony Shinn from Bank of America. He's the president of the Oklahoma City market for Bank of America, a native Oklahoman. Grew up in his summers on a tractor in Oklahoma, taking care of peanuts. He did his undergraduate work at Oklahoma State. He's a member of the board of directors of the United Way, and this is his first appearance on The Verdict. Tony, glad to have you.
Thank you.
All right, Terry, when was the Institute founded?
We were founded in 2006. We're a 501c3 nonprofit, and the Institute was founded on a mission of empowering women economically, socially, and politically around the globe.
Was there a specific moment in your life where you said you were inspired to do this?
There was. I received a call from the White House, the State Department, and the Education Department in late 2006, asking me if I would teach women in Afghanistan how to start and grow businesses. And of course, the first thing I thought was,
that's a big task.
Why would I want to do that, and do I have to go to Afghanistan?
You've got to learn to check the caller IDs when you pick up the phone, and it's that's a large responsibility.
It is. I decided to take a trip there through the State Department with Ambassador Paula Dobriansky, and spent a week on the ground meeting women who had owned businesses prior to the Taliban and had to close them, and were beginning to restart those businesses, and young women who were seeing some freedom for them to start businesses. And I was really overcome with admiration for them, their aggressiveness, their desire to be free and start businesses and employ their fellow countrymen and women. And on the way back, on the plane back to the United States, I thought, you know, this is my legacy, so to speak. I've been involved in the personnel industry and finding jobs for men and women for many, many years, more years than I want to admit. And so this is a way for me to pay forward what I have learned and what I have done over the past 30 years, which is now 40 years.
Right.
Put the plan together, went back to the State Department and the Education Department and said, here's what I think we could do. And they said, this is great. God bless you, my child, go do it.
Well, where do you start, though? In a United States business, you know, there's certain regulatory steps to take. You might go get a license to start. But in
Correct.
Afghanistan, I'm guessing, you know, it's not just the government bureaucracy you have to work for. There must be all sorts of other hurdles that a woman must, you know, take on to start a business. So where do you start in that environment?
Well, the first thing is you do have to get a license. And actually to get into our program and take our curriculum, they have to prove to us that they have a license and they have to send us their license. The other big hurdles are financing. Most of the financing that they have will come from their family or from just friends, small amounts of money.
Right.
And then the other huge hassle and struggle in Afghanistan is security.
Yeah.
A big issue. And we've had many women over the last 10 years, this is our 10th year this year, and so we've had many women who've had trouble. They've had threats. They've had a lot of things that they've had to go through. In fact, the only woman-owned printing company in Afghanistan, Freshta, her employees were paid to sabotage her company, and she was burned out. She left Afghanistan, went back, restarted that company, and by the way, she came to Oklahoma and was mentored by Jason McWilliams at Impressions Printing. And he absolutely adores her, and they continue to stay in touch after all of these years. She learned so much from him.
Are there some areas of Afghanistan where you don't even try to get things started because of the
Kandahar
danger?
is the most conservative area, and the Helmand province, and that's a pretty tough area. But we have a lot of women that are in Herat and Mazar, certainly Kabul, and one of our women in the Kundi province owns a soccer ball manufacturing company, and she was in our very first class. And she had about 22 employees that sat cross-legged on the floor, hand sewing soccer balls. Today, we have her exporting those soccer balls to Germany. And 10 years later, she has over 400 employees. So we're really proud of Taj Sarat, who's done an amazing job.
Wow. And is the United States government still involved in the sponsorship or at some level trying to help support the program?
Yeah, you really have to be close to the political structure. Certainly the ambassador of Afghanistan, the first lady of Afghanistan, Rula Ghani, is part of the U.S. Afghan Women's Council that President George W. Bush set up in 2002. I have a seat on that council. Hillary Clinton and Laura Bush co-chair the council. Those are interesting meetings. They're really great meetings, but Mrs. Ghani is always at those meetings. And we're trying to do the same thing in Rwanda. Since we work in Rwanda, helping women to grow businesses, we think it would be really great if we had a U.S. Rwanda Women's Council as well. And a lot of the political structure in Rwanda are very, very involved with what we do.
Well, I started this line of questioning and it focused on Afghanistan, and I'm guessing it's much broader than that today.
Much broader than that. And Rwanda, of course, is a very safe country. There are no security issues. For them, yes, they have to get a license to operate a business, but also for them, it's financing. And many of those women are really fastly ramping up. We have a woman who was on the Forbes list that was in our classroom about 7 years ago. So it's really phenomenal. What we've totally changed, I think, what's happened on the ground in both of those countries.
Let's talk about your programs in that regard. Once you get qualified applicants for the Institute, what happens after that? Do they come here for education? Does the education go to them? How does it work?
Well, first of all, we have staff on the ground in both countries. And so our staffers are brilliant. They're previous graduates of ours, which is called the Peace Through Business program. So they're graduates of ours. They teach the curriculum, which is Northwood University curriculum, 10-week course in country. Around 30 to 35 women in each country go through that course, January through March. We have an independent selection committee that selects the top 15 to come to the United States. They are here for about 2.5 weeks. So they go through a boot camp leadership development course the first week they're here. And then they are matched with Oklahoma women business owners, Dallas women business owners, other women business owners across the country, because we want an industry to industry match. The women say they learn so much more from their mentor than they do in the classroom. Mm-hmm. They love being able to live and work with an American woman business owner, to see how she runs her business compared to how she runs hers back home.
Wow.
How do you handle the language barrier?
They all speak English. English is their second language. And yes, it's a little tough. You have to slow down and speak slower than normal, but there's really no barrier at all. They really are pretty good English speakers. And they do take an English test before they get in the classroom. They need to be able to speak English in order to come to the United States.
Well, Tony, I know Bank of America is involved, and you're the, of course, representative of the Bank of America to the Institute. What is Bank of America's role in the Institute?
Well, much like what we had mentioned earlier, is that Bank of America has a focus of, one, empowering women both domestically and globally. We participated in some programs that where we try to add mentors, where we try to provide some additional capital to get those programs started and to support those programs. 2 years ago, Janae Lister and Brett Cooper with Merrill Lynch came to me as market president and said, there's this organization, IEW, that is doing some great work. And so we learned a little bit more about it. We supported them in a couple of different ways. Then last year, Andrea Smith, who is our Chief Administrative Officer and a native Oklahoman, was in market. And we scheduled a lunch, basically, and Terry Neece got to tell her story and started talking about the impact that it makes in these countries. And what I think really was the aha moment for Andrea Smith and the folks at Bank of America is comparing Terry Neece's, the IEW success rate compared to some other programs that we participate globally already. Vital Voices, the Cherie Blair Foundation. So as I mentioned, we provide mentors for women-owned businesses around the world already, but we had not seen the success and the continuation of the program and the consistency that we found in IEW.
Tony Shinn is with Bank of America. Terry Neece is with the Institute for Economic Empowerment of Women. We'll have more on the verdict right after this.
It's astonishing to think food production needs to double over the next 30 years to handle population growth. Thankfully, technologies and innovations made possible with oil and natural gas compounds are making nutritious crops more plentiful than ever. It's our generation's turn to help solve worldwide challenges. Let's imagine new ways to give Oklahoma's oil and natural gas even more purpose.
The good life comes naturally to Tulsa, where nature's beauty is matched with an eye for aesthetics. A legacy of neighborhoods graced with lawns and landscaping and handsome homes. A place that seems to have patented an ideal lifestyle. Bank First is loyal to the quality of life Tulsa assures its citizens, to the priority placed on education, culture, and growth. Loyal to builders who transform raw land into residential charm. Developers who see opportunity and add vitality to Tulsa's economy. Bank First serves both enterprise and private lives that need a loyal partner. It's how we help nurture this city's very good life. Bank First. Loyal to Oklahoma. Loyal to you.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett and Kent Myers. We're visiting with Terry Neece and Tony Shinn, learning more about the Institute for Economic Empowerment of Women. And Tony, you were telling us, some of the success stories that have come out of the program.
Yeah, and that was the compelling story that led to us becoming more involved and trying to become a better partner with IEW. We feel like that, one, our initiative for supporting women-owned businesses domestically and globally already can add some value and bring some resources. We are very strong advocates for financial education. We have supported personal financial education for 20 plus years and have developed some programs that we feel like can add value when these young women, these entrepreneurs come to the United States and go through some of the programs. So we feel like that we're a natural fit for what IEW delivers, and so that's why we're excited to partner with them, to be supportive of them, and hopefully we can take the program to even greater heights.
Give us some numbers on this.
Well,
back it up.
What we look at and our emphasis on trying to get women more involved in ownership of businesses globally is that by empowering women to participate in economies in their countries and their nations, could add $28 trillion to the global GDP by 2025. And so as we're all in the banking industry talking about the malaise that we're in as far as the economy, both domestically and globally, this could be one of those catalysts that says it's going to get the economy rolling again, and that we're going to see good growth and sustainable growth globally. And so, it's two countries that IEW is focused on, but who knows where that could lead, and who knows if we get enough support, or if Terry gets enough support to expand that to other continents, other countries. And so we feel like that we can get a very good return on our investment.
Well, Terry, I'm interested from the job creation standpoint of what sort of infrastructure needs to be in place. In the United States, you might say, well, a business might need streets, or they might need water, or they might need a broad bandwidth, to conduct their businesses. What are the barriers in that regard to these organizations?
I think the barriers would be certainly in Rwanda. It's not the government. That is a free market economy, totally free market economy. So they have no barriers in terms of running their businesses and opening their businesses and taking them to the next level. Probably the biggest barrier, again, is banking and having the financing. Interest rates in both Afghanistan and Rwanda are 24% for a loan.
Right.
So taking out a loan is almost impossible to do. So that's the biggest barrier. In Afghanistan, transportation, streets, city streets in Kabul, there's still a lot of rubble. There's even at so many years over there, there's just still a lot of discontent with
Are
streets.
these jobs mostly in manufacturing? Is there like a wholesale industry over there, or is the manufacturer also the retailer? How does all that work?
It's kind of the wholesaler is the retailer,
Yeah.
but the women's businesses are just all over the map. There are certainly handicraft businesses, but we've noticed since we started in 2006 that has really changed a great deal. There's a lot of manufacturing, there's a lot of IT. There's no barrier in terms of IT. In fact, these women in Afghanistan and Rwanda both are better with IT than we are.
Are they banking on a handheld mobile device?
They are. The other thing that's interesting is that they don't check their emails, but about once a week. Can you imagine us going today and not checking email? But they have their phone, and so they check their emails on their phone, and they do WhatsApp, which is free, and they can text and communicate all over the world for free on WhatsApp, which is a free download as well. But they are much more attuned to technology, I think, even than what we are, which is amazing to us. So there are a lot of IT cafes, there's a lot of mobile app type businesses, cash mobile app business. So a lot of technology that's going on business-wise in both of those countries. And by the way, we've, in the last 9 years, this is our 10th year, but in the last 9 years, we've graduated 600 Peace Through Business graduates. They've created almost 13,000 jobs, and at the end of 9 years, 80% of them are still in business.
Yeah, and that's one of the key stats that got Bank of America's attention, because we talked about the
retention.
The retention, the jobs, and how many are still in business.
Yeah.
And you know, Kigali City is a sister city with Oklahoma City. And so in 2014, when I traveled there, and I've just returned from there in March, but in 2014, when we traveled there, we put a memorandum of understanding together with the mayor of Kigali City and the vice mayor. And we asked for, in that memorandum of understanding, for Kigali City to actually build a women's business center in their new city hall that they were building at that time. And I'm really proud to announce that going back in March of this year, that women's center is built. We have an office in City Hall, and we taught our programs in City Hall this year. Our classroom programs were held in City Hall. But they have built about a 15,000 square feet women's business center in Kigali City, so that all women, not just Peace Through Business women and graduates, but all women can come to that women's business center and have knowledge and training, and also setting up incubator systems, and those types of things will be set up in that women's business center. So we're thrilled that they held up their part of the deal with the memorandum of understanding between Kigali City and Oklahoma City. So I think it's a big issue that we've got a sister city there.
Tony, we heard Terry talk about kind of the lack of an organized banking system in these organizations. How can Bank of America help on that side?
Well, part of what they're going to be doing in Dallas, and how we're going to play a role in Dallas, is to utilize some of our experienced lenders to talk about how do you prepare a business plan, how do you work with a finance institution to try to leverage your expertise and get that into financing. There are other programs that we support. The Tory Burch Foundation has some capital programs. Most of those are spent here in the United States, but we have committed another $20 million to that foundation to help as women-owned businesses try to raise capital. So I don't believe we have banking operations in Rwanda or in Afghanistan. And so it's going to be difficult for us to obviously try to fund anything, but what we can do is provide some training locally, try to work with some partners that we work with globally, and try to provide some of that capital, because that is a challenge.
Terry, we're almost out of time, but kind of give our viewers an idea of how they can help or how they could get involved if they seem inspired to do so.
Well, this year, July, again, the women will be here. We'll have almost 30 women from Rwanda and Afghanistan in Dallas and here in Oklahoma City. We decided this year to honor, since it's our 10th year, everything is 10. So we are presenting a 10 for 10 Women Making a Difference in our state, and we're giving 10 awards to women in different segments of the economy, private sector, government, youth, seniors, etc. And we're doing that on July 19th at the Oklahoma City Golf and Country Club. Judy Love, Love's Travel Stops, is hosting that event. And Bank of America, AT&T, and several others are sponsoring that as well. So I would encourage people to go on our website and look at IEW.org/10for10.
And we'll give that information when we return. But that's going to wrap it up for this segment. Tony, thanks. Terry, thanks.
Yeah.
Cynthia.
Thank you so much.
Some inspiring work out there.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Kent and I'll have a final word when we get back.
There are now 11 million of us who live here and work here. I was 15 when I came here 6 years ago. I raised my family here. I drive my truck to my job every day. The only difference between now and 6 years ago, I do it legally. I wanted to. Because this is my home.
All children deserve a life of hope and love, but sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, each child deserves all the quality assistance and representation that can be offered in our legal system. For more information, call 23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
You will always be mom and dad to me.
I really think people are so unaware of the number of kids waiting just in Oklahoma. And I think if more people knew that those children were out there waiting, I think that just by the way we live our lives and the people we talk to, that maybe we can help encourage adoption from Oklahoma.
You will always be mom and dad to me.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of The Verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information. And for almost 30 years, Oklahoma political, government, and business leaders have turned to the McCarville Report for accurate, reliable, inside information. Visit the McCarville Report online.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Terry Neece had an incredible career, and this latest organization she started, maybe the most important of all.
Well, yeah, she called it her legacy. She's had quite a legacy prior to this, but this certainly adds to a spectacular career for her.
And good to see Tony Shinn and Bank of America involved. There's no shortage of need out there.
Yeah, indeed.
All right, we have some website information. We promised we'd let you know how you could get involved in Terry's organization. That website is IEEW.org. That's IEEW.org. And we have a website, theverdict.tv. Love for you to log on and tell us about a guest you'd like to see or a subject you'd like to see us discuss on a future show. But that's going to do it for this week. For Kent Myers, I'm Mick Cornett. We'll see you next time right here on The Verdict.